Well, tonight on the Audacious Confidence Show, we are going to talk all about living an empowered life. Yes, we are. I am your host, Alicia Couri, and I am the Red Carpet CEO. I'm here to influence, educate, inspire, and entertain you so you can step into your own audacious confidence and be more, do more, have more, and live the life of your dreams without limits or restrictions. And tonight, as I said, we're talking transformation, we're talking empowerment. And I am so excited to have my special guest here tonight. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Miss Susan Burrell. She is an author of Live Your Empowered Life, a 30-day journal book. And she has a thought-provoking podcast. And I was binge listening. I keep trying to say binge watching, but I was binge listening over the weekend. It's called Empowering Chats with Susan Burrell, and you need to check it out. It can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and other popular platforms. And her guided meditations are accessible through the Insight Timer app. Susan defines herself as a feisty Scorpio. She was even born with red hair, and you're going to see that red hair to back it up, who has navigated life by learning how to listen within to the divine urge that keeps pointing her in the direction of life's purpose, even when she can't see the road ahead. With a master's degree in consciousness, Susan has been counseling and supporting people in transforming from the inside out for over 25 years. Her methods are proven because she has lived this journey to empowerment herself. She's an empath, and as a child, it made her very uncomfortable because she could feel everyone in the room and not understand why. She now realizes that empathic part of being is a gift, and it is what she uses when working with clients to help them uncover their brilliance and inner love. So right now, I would love the opportunity to welcome Miss Susan Burrell to the show, because I really love this woman because she talks about building yourself from the inside out, and that is what I always talk about too, that you have to build your confidence from the inside out. So Ms. Susan Burrell, come join me on the show.
Woo-hoo, I'm happy to be here.
See that, all that red hair? I love it. Love the feisty redhead. So
I'm sorry, but it's kind of the audacious, right? It's the audacious, feisty, audacious, fearless,
bold, right? And beautiful. The bold and the beautiful. I grew up watching that, the bold and the beautiful. So yes, we are the bold and the beautiful here tonight. So I want to talk about, number one, first, being an empath, because you talked about how it, as a child, how it bothered you, how, that's a source of a low confidence that kind of had you closed in a little bit, right?
Well, yeah. So first of all, I would imagine there's lots of people out there that have those intuitive, empathic feelings, because I really believe that we are all capable of that.
Yeah.
But I was in a family of origin that, while my mother was empathic, my grandmother was, it was a time where you just shut that down.
Mm-hmm.
It was,
people didn't understand it.
Right.
Don't be the weird kid. Right.
Right. And so that part of me really got suppressed. And I remember, it's so funny thinking about audacious confidence, because I remember going into middle school, and I had no self-esteem. I had no self-esteem. And throughout most of high school. And so I kept acting as if I did, and part of it is because there was that part of me that I had to suppress, because other people, it still happens today, but I'm better at managing it.
Recognizing it first, and then.
Right. And I can walk by somebody, I go to these networking events, and oh my goodness, some of these people, I'm like, oh, honey, and I just want to, like, oh, could I just help you? And sometimes I'll just kind of look at them, and there's this one woman, she's like, what? Are you reading me? Are you getting messages? I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. I get feelings, right? I get feeling depressed.
I feel the energy of people. I do. That's why I like being in a room with people, because I feel their energy. But even like this, I feel the energy of people. So August had said hi earlier. Sushmita saying hi. August says, love the hair, love the begin in the background as well. So thank you, August on Facebook, and Sushmita on Facebook. Thank you. Yeah, so feeling the energy in the room, I used to feel that too. So I understand what you're saying.
And it
Definitely.
takes a while well, part of that becomes self-acceptance, right? That this is part of my skill set,
Mhm.
and like I said earlier, everybody else can develop it if you choose to.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that you're gonna like see
I
ghosts
see
or
dead people.
right. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you become more connected within yourself, and then you can listen to the inner wisdom that resides within you,
Hmm.
because we all have a deep inner wisdom that is, I choose to call it a divine spark.
Hmm.
And when we listen within ourselves, we don't have to outsource our love. Outsourcing to me means I'm going outside to bring some love into my heart. I'm going outside to ask people's opinions because I don't trust myself. And
Right.
that was all a big part of my personal journey into becoming more empowered. And I got to tell everybody, I'm still working on it. It's just, I don't
I
think it's,
think we're all a work in progress,
yeah,
Susan. We're all a work in progress. I mean, I'm uh, now 50 and I'm seeing, wow, I wish I had known this 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Oh my gosh, how much different would my life be? And as I try to impart it into my kids, I'm like, please listen to me. But they have to walk their own path. And so Sebastian says, tuning in from Galaxy. I can't read all of that, but and hi, Sebastian. Thank you for tuning in. And so as we talk about audacious and confident, you know, as a small child, I was very audacious. I was so bold. People knew when I walked into the room.
mm-hmm.
Um, but like you, in elementary school, middle school, high school, I shut down. And so that's an important time in someone's life, because you do feel like an outcast for most of your life. And it's so strange that we all feel it, but we all don't recognize that we're all feeling it.
Right. Exactly. And we're so busy trying to get with whatever group it is that we can feel a
A
part of,
part of, right.
that we're not even investigating. And this happens even when you're in your
In
30s,
adult in
40s.
adulthood.
Yeah.
It does.
You
And
know,
unless you kind of wise up to it
Mhm.
and start building your confidence and say, I am okay with me. I don't need a group. I remember in high school, there were all the little cliques of people, and I fit into every little clique because I kind of could roll with this one or roll with that one, and everybody, I was everything to everybody.
I
So,
kind of did that in college.
yeah.
Yeah.
And instead of being myself, because I was not comfortable being me, so I could just be in everybody's little group and be accepted,
Yep.
you know?
I used
So
to wonder well, certainly in high school, but when I got to college and I was fitting into all those other groups, right? For the first time, I felt like I was being accepted by other people. And there was this like background noise of what if they find out? I don't know what I thought they
yeah,
would find out,
that
but what if
that
they,
imposter syndrome.
so I didn't trust, I wasn't quite trusting enough. And then when a group of college friends, there's 7 or 8 of us, when we all started turning 40, I reached out to them and I said, we need to get together. And so we've been getting together once a year, and we are the most, for a couple of decades, but we are the most loving and supportive group to each other because of our history, and we're all in different areas of the
Of
country,
life.
different jobs and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
that place where I didn't feel loved or accepted, I now feel that because they allow me to do all my kind of shamanistic woo stuff, when we get together for the weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I saw a comment from Mama Bear Santosh. She said, no age guarantees confidence or mistakes. We just learn, sometimes not the easy way. That is so true.
That's very true.
Because it's only when you start getting self-awareness, when you really decide that you want to build confidence. Because I know in my 20s, I thought you were either confident or you weren't. I didn't know it's a skill that you have to build, that it's something you have to learn.
It's an ongoing practice. And I'll share with you, Alicia, my journey into empowerment started with attempting to live an inspired life, right? And that I had a broadcast radio show for a few years that was called Live an Inspired Life. And I really attempted to do that, living from my personal inspiration. But then after that show was complete, I went into divorce. And that was the biggest shakeup and heart-shattering experience of my life to date, because it woke me up. And I've been a spiritual quester. I've done all sorts of transformational groups, classes. I teach transformation. You know, I was trying to walk my talk as much as I can. And then my life just emptied out. That's when I realized that it wasn't just being inspired from the inside out. It was really learning how to love and respect and trust myself from the inside out. And that became my journey of empowerment. And I still get tripped up, you know, where I have to sit and go, okay, where am I now?
Wow. You know, that is so incredible, because there are a couple of things in there. First of all, we're all on this journey. And this is why I love this show, because confidence comes in all different areas of our life. We're not everything all the time. There are things that we're good, you know, we feel confident in because of either training and practice and whatever. And there are things that we just intuitively know we're confident in. Yeah. And then there are things that we're not confident in at different levels and different times in our life. And it's all about bringing tools from everybody's tool bag and putting them in your tool bag so that you can use them. And this is why I love this show. I love doing this. And you said that exactly. You know, you were living this inspired life. You were having all these wonderful things happen, and then the bottom fell out. Mm-hmm. Your marriage fell apart. Mm-hmm. Even though you were on this spiritual quest and you were on this, you know, I have to grow and be and become, and all this stuff still happens.
Life happens.
Life happens. And it's nobody's fault. It's nobody's, you know, I mean, we can all say, yeah, this one did that and that, but in reality, we take responsibility for our own actions. So we're not blaming anybody in this situation, and we take responsibility, and then we learn how to move forward from that empowered. And that's why building your confidence, to me, is the foundation of that.
So can I tap on that?
Yes. And then we'll go to break and then we'll transition. Sorry.
Okay.
We will transition as we're talking about transition.
So in stating that people take responsibility for their stuff, right? And stuff like that, Alicia, there's a lot of people, clients that I've worked with, they do the blame and victim game. Usually they come to me because they're in a blame and victim game. Either they're trying to get through divorce or heal from divorce. And the blame, victim, and shame game is not about taking responsibility. And so I often have to get them into a space, which takes a while, where they can begin to trust themselves and see, oh, what I was thinking was happening over there that they were doing to me is actually me allowing that to happen. And so I just had a client who she's been working on self-love, self-trust, and self-respect. I talk about her often. I love and adore her. And this last week, she was texting me and sending me emails saying, I don't feel respected, blah, 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 the story. I don't feel respected. And then when I saw her, she said, oh my gosh, I realized why, because I wasn't respecting myself enough to speak up. I wasn't respecting myself enough to hold boundaries. You know, so it's an ongoing excavation.
Right.
As we excavate and claim ourselves more, then we can become even more self-responsible. But a lot of people don't know it's always someone else's fault when you start this empowered journey. Why would anybody want to pick up somebody else's garbage?
So as we're closing off this segment, I just want to say you are watching the Audacious Confidence Show here on Dramaniac TV. I am your host, Alicia Couri, the Red Carpet CEO. And with me is my guest, Susan Burrell, and she is the author of the Live an Inspired Life workbook. And also she has a podcast and meditation that you need to check out on iTunes and everywhere else. I was listening on Spotify. So she's everywhere. So just look for Susan Burrell, 2 R's, 2 L's. So, in the previous segment, we just kind of talked about our childhood and kind of the foundation of confidence. But I want to talk a little bit more about healing from any kind of traumatic situation that happened, because we left off the last segment talking about going through divorce and playing the blame game, and also not wanting to take responsibility for your part in something, but just being the victim. And there is always that first step. That's always that I'm hurt, so either I need to hurt you or you have to pay for hurting me. Right? Hi, Kathy, by the way. I see you there, Kathy. Thank you. So talk about the blame game.
Yeah. So the blame game comes with the shame game. And then there's the guilt game. And it becomes a cycle that's very hard to break out of if you are not taking conscious steps to really deepen within yourself. And, I still get caught in it. But when I was going through divorce, I realized that as I was peeling off, it's so funny. I saw this leaving my 28-year marriage as taking off coats, stuff that was just hanging on me, and the pockets were full of self-doubt or just yuck, and just peeling these off. It's not, people in transformational work say it's peeling the onion layer. No. This was like trench coats full of yucky stuff. Pulling them off and pulling them off daily so I could begin to breathe and begin to feel who I was, because I really didn't know who I was at that time.
Right.
And one day after having done, so the reason why I wrote Live an Empowered Life, a 30-day journey, is because I worked it and I came out of that experience feeling more empowered and loving myself and respecting myself more than I ever had. But I also know that living a life of freedom and happiness and love takes work. And fortunately, when I was going through divorce, I had these skill sets already. So one day, I talk about this often, I was standing in my kitchen, I'm living in my house by myself right now and dealing with lawyer crap. And I all of a sudden felt this overwhelming sense of shame funnel up into my body and just was pulsing up and down. And I was like, oh my God. And I had never felt shame like that. Like if I say something wrong, okay, I feel bad, but this was like waves of it. And I thought, oh my gosh, where is this coming from? So I sat down immediately and I went within, and I saw myself kind of in this box or a room that was just filled with muck, and it was sticky, gooey, black tar, yuck. And I began to just consciously shine light and scrub the walls and ceiling and the corners and all of that until I did not feel any more shame. And then during the rest of the divorce and afterwards, if shame comes up, I do that. I check in. But that one was the first one.
That was the first wave that just knocked you down. Yeah. Because you started to feel what that, like, instead of just embracing it, which is what we do a lot of times, you felt the ickiness. It's like, this doesn't belong to me. Why is this here?
Well, so here's the thing I know to be true, Alicia, is in order to live a healthier, happier, empowered life, you got to do the work. You know, you can't just put a Band-Aid on or go, I'll just deal with that later. Or no, if you've been ignoring it like I had in certain areas, it's going to come up and overwhelm you until you sit down and actually deal with it.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Exactly. It will keep coming back up. So Sebastian had a comment earlier. Let's see if that pops back up. It says, all it takes is the first step, which is quite tough at times. That is so true. And then someone else had a comment. Kathy says, that's great, Susan. It takes a lot of work for sure. And the work never stops.
No.
Santos says it takes effort to overcome and rise, but it's worth it. Yes. Yes, Mama.
And a lot of times you don't feel like it's ever going to be over, right? You know,
yes.
Swimming in the muck with it.
Something always is coming back up. It's always coming back up.
But if you do inner work, you know, if you, and it's the inner work for me is meditating, of course, but it's also journaling my brains out, you know, and by that, I mean, like taking all those stories I'm running in my head. I mean, I know people, well, maybe I meant, but in the middle of the night, 3 a.m, the story's running. I'm like, oh my God. Or the shower, I get in the shower and there's the story again. Or, you know.
Happened to me last night. 2 a.m, I'm up. I'm like, oh, why?
Yeah, exactly. And so journaling it to empty your brain, and empty that mindset onto paper or a book that you can shut it and you don't have to look at it again. Don't go back and reread that stuff. That doesn't help you. But to get it out. So then I'm a big believer of creating empty space within yourself because the universe abhors a vacuum.
Yes, and it will fill it.
Whenever you create an empty space, something else is going to come in. So you want to create that empty space within you so you can put all the good that you are, or all the good that you want inside you, all the love that you want, all that stuff.
That's excellent. All right, let me see a couple more of the comments that popped up. Kathy said something. Parker says, hi, found you. Hello from Adelaide, Australia. Hey, Parker. And Kathy says, you just have to pick yourself up, put your big girl panties on, and take a baby step forward. Yes, we do. We sure do. I think one of the challenges is that a lot of us don't know ourselves. We get involved in relationships or situations and we just go along and we don't take time to really know ourselves. And that's why I said I love that you help people work from the inside out, because you have to clear out all that junk.
All
put in what you want, because we're not taught as kids to put what we want inside of us. We're taught to just live this experience of life and have everything dumped on us and believe whatever we believe.
Well, there's also the family of origin and people, those of us that come from any kind of trauma or drama, then that's the belief that that's the way life works. And it's not true. Tain't necessarily so, people. That's not true. But it takes awareness to wake up or to investigate and decide, is this true for me? Mm-hmm. Is this what I want to live my life from based on this belief system or this trauma or this, you know? And I hear what you're saying, Alicia, because when I got married, I was 25. I feel like that's really young now. But
I was 21.
Oh my God, honey.
No.
Oh, but I didn't know myself. Like you said, I had no clue. And I was like along for the ride. And here was my husband that, okay, together we'll just have a happy life. I mean, I bought the whole fairy tale story. It was ridiculous. And so consequently, in all my spiritual classes and getting a master's degree in consciousness, my intention was to really know myself fully and be fully me. That was one of my mantras. I choose to be fully me. And so consequently, because that was my choice point, my current experience, my relationship had to fall away in order for me to be fully me. And I didn't realize it at the time. I thought I could like drag him along, you know, bring him up or whatever. And that wasn't in the cards. So,
yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's tragic. So Santos says, I was 27 and that was so uncommon in India. I found the best man, but experienced pain in a different way with his loss. It is hard, but we have to get up and keep moving. Yes, it's difficult when you lose someone like that as well, Santos, someone that you fully and completely love and that you're compatible with, and that everything you guys were doing were so in sync with each other, and then someone takes his life. That is another trauma that you have to learn how to move beyond. And talk about taking responsibility with something like that. Because we talked about divorce, but like if there is a trauma, sorry, where a life is taken, that someone is taken from you, how does someone transition and move on from that situation?
So I'm gonna erase the word responsibility, because the person who committed the crime is responsible.
Right.
The individuals that love the individual that they've lost, they're not responsible.
Right.
And a lot of times survivors try and figure out, how could I do it differently? What if,
Right.
he wasn't there? What if I had been a better mother, or a better father? And tragedies like that, I know I'm talking to the larger choir that understands this, but there are so many moving pieces in the universe that conspire to come together to create experiences. And we can't know the why. There's some things you just cannot know the why about. I would love it if I knew the why. I used to wish I had a handbook that would tell me the why. But it really is more developing, again, an inner confidence and inner commitment to be love, be compassion, to be kindness, and then allow whatever the universe is bringing to you to be the thing that you begin to trust again, if you can. I have oh my gosh. So I have a great affirmation that I started using the day after I filed for divorce, and it's called, I trust the unknown. I relinquish the known, and I live in infinite possibilities. And the trusting the unknown was frightening for me, because I was a big control freak. I wanted to know the plan. I wanted to know where I was going, what was happening, all that stuff. But as I continued to work that mantra and download it, trusting the unknown, crazy stuff happens, and that we have no control over. It wasn't our fault.
Yeah.
We were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, or whatever. And trusting the unknown, I developed that muscle, if you will, so that now when I'm in choice points or pivot points of having to make a new choice, right? Mm-hmm. I lean back into trusting the unknown.
The unknown. I hear this a lot too, that to believe that you are right where you need to be in this moment, regardless of what is happening, which is like trusting the unknown, that you are right where you need to be right now. And just, like you said, trust.
It's the hardest thing. I have a friend who says it makes me squirm like a worm on a hook.
Yeah, it is difficult to do. And I've been learning to do that too. Just trust and build confidence in the unknown, that where I move from this point, I will be guided to go where I need to go. And this is a learning experience to help me help someone else.
Yeah, again, my favorite client, trying to complete divorce, we set intentions of what the mediation might bring to her, might look like. But they were intentions, not goals, not an absolute. And then I had to begin to escort her into trusting the unknown, because there's so many moving pieces in life that we can't know that the thing that you think you've said, I want to do this by, tomorrow, and then it doesn't happen. It's because there's so many other things that are conspiring and moving in to align with you. And
I agree so much. Yeah.
and you get to choose again, right? You get to go, okay, is this really what I want? If it's not showing up, take another look. Is this really what I want? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it needs to be adjusted, So living life here on planet Earth is dynamic because everything changes all the time.
Yes, it
And
sure does.
and think that you can control change or you don't have to. I don't gotta change. You're setting yourself up for a big brick wall at the end of your road.
Big hurt, the big hurt. So this is so great. And we are closing out this segment, and I just want to again just let everyone know that we are you are watching. I'm not watching. I'm talking. You are watching the Audacious Confidence Show on Dramaniac TV. I'm your host, Alicia Couri, and with me is my guest, Susan Burrell, and she is the author of Live an Empowered Life Workbook. Live an Empowered Life Workbook. And so in this segment, I want to talk a little bit more about the workbook, because I heard on one of your podcasts, you were doing the workbook again. You keep doing it over and over again because stuff happens. So
right.
why would you do your workbook again for yourself? You've written it, you've done it.
Well, first of all, I have a great small group that's helping me learn how to teach the book and support others. But the primary thing is I caught myself stressing and trying to control people. Like I just said, you can't, you have to trust the unknown. I was trying to manipulate and control people. And that was old behavior. That was old from my previous marriage, where if I can control my circumstances or control my husband or control reactions enough, I would get what I
want.
Right. And so when this control factor started coming up again within me, I realized, okay, there's something sneaking in. It's an old behaviorism or belief system. And I didn't want it downloading in my body to create dis-ease, which is what it had done before.
Create a belief.
Well, yeah, that too. So doing the work has been very interesting because I realized I got to look up words. I have another client who started doing the book as soon as it came out. And she said, well, there's lots of affirmations every day there's something new to do. And she said, so I was reading this, I trust the unknown, that's funny that I mentioned it.
Yeah.
And she said, so I knew what trust meant, but I thought I'd look it up. So she looked up the word trust. It gave her a whole different perspective. And then she journaled about it and rewrote the affirmation with her new wisdom that would work for her, which is, oh my God, I would never have thought of doing that. So I'm learning from her, and I'm looking up words so that as I get to different affirmations, I'm like, well, what does that really mean to me now?
Right. Because you're in a different place.
Right. Like one of the affirmations is, I no longer participate in debilitating acts of invisibility, which have kept me from living my inspired life. I am free to be fully me. And so I looked up debilitating, and it says to make weak or feeble, to harm, injure, prostrate, to undermine, exhaust, vitalize. Okay. So all of a sudden it was like, oh, that's why that is so important for me, because I'm choosing in this next half of my life to live a vital life, to live an empowered life, to be healthy and happy and all that. And if I'm participating myself in debilitating acts by being invisible, keeping my mouth shut,
shrinking back,
the only person I'm hurting is me.
Yeah.
And I'm not helping anybody else.
Wow. Yes. I totally agree with that. And in some way, subconsciously, I've been doing that too. So Sushmita says, trusting the unknown. It's scary. like it's a scary journey, but there's nothing permanent in this world. Yes, from a young 25-year-old. Sushmita, I like this new look, full comments showing. Congratulations. Yep, we're getting to see all the comments and not blocking us off with the comments. So let's talk a little bit about the podcast, because this year you have a journey of doing the podcast. You started with empowerment for this year. And so you're using each month, you're using a letter from the word empowerment. And so tell us a little bit about what the reason behind that is and where you're going with that.
Well, part of it is because I had developed a practice with an earlier group I created years ago, where at the beginning of every year, you come up with your word, your one word that's going to be what you focus on. And so I had my team that are some amazing people that work with me. I said, everybody pick a word. What is it you want for your personal business, and what is it you want for your life? And then we riffed on it. And so for me, it was kind of like, okay, empowerment. It's still empowerment. I still have so much to learn.
Yes.
And then I realized my assistant, Bianca, said, why don't we do themes based on your empowerment work? Because I took the word empower and broke it down into, into what each letter could mean.
Mm-hmm.
So like the first letter, E, is for esteem. And the next one is M for movement, which we're currently working on. And movement to me means transformation.
Yes.
You have to take action to transform. You can't just
sit back and wait for it to happen to you.
Right.
My camera just went out of focus.
You
can't just wait for it to happen.
That doesn't.
You can't just say affirmations and meditations, just waiting for it to happen without moving.
And that means that you're taking self-responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So there's the responsibility word back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I went through all of them. P is for purpose. O is for ownership, owning your successes, because I find a lot of women don't do that.
Yes.
They'd much rather own their mistakes because, well, we go back to the debilitating acts of invisibility,
Yes.
They own their successes. They might shine brighter than their coworker or their boss or their husband, So, and then there was developing a sense of wonder, and I stacked them that way. And it's the way the book is written, so that you have to excavate, you have to dig deep, and then you come into places of softness, like, what do I still have wonder in my life, and what does that look like?
Yes.
And the second E in empower, because I was doing my work, and I was like, I talked about all that shame that came in.
Mm-hmm.
The second word is emancipate.
Ooh, freedom.
And it's a big trigger word. When I started sharing that with a couple people on my team, they're like, "Oh, I don't like that." But
that's like audacious that we've talked about before.
So emancipate is, for me, it's freedom from restraint or influence. That's the definition. So I wanted to be free from anybody trying to put shackles on me, right? Mm-hmm. And most importantly, I wanted to be free within myself from inner bondage. And we all put ourselves in a cage sometimes, or a box.
Right. Yeah.
Self-imposed. Right. And so to develop a way that I could get out from that inner bondage, so I could be more free, which was my key word: freedom, happiness, and love, as I was going through divorce. So that's been an interesting word to investigate and drop into in meditation and see where I am.
Mm-hmm. What month is that going to be on? Is that May?
January, February, March, April, May, June.
June. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right after my birthday. Okay.
Woohoo.
So wonder is May.
Yes.
Wonder. Yes.
Yes. And it could be, kind of like the Disneyland wonder.
Yeah.
Or it could be the profound wonder of the universe.
Wonder. Yeah.
Right?
Anyway, keep going. This is fascinating.
You feel when you are walking in nature, or you're laughing with friends, and it creates just that inner sanctity of honoring who you are by being in a state of awe, right? That is kind of maybe a precursor to grace if people are thinking about grace. But wonder is one of the key elements to bring yourself into wholeness.
I love it. I love it. So emancipate, what is next?
The last word is R, for realize. To realize what your inner truth has always been, because we all have, if you've lived life long enough, you've covered up what your inner truth is, like we said at the very beginning of the segment, covering up your empathic abilities, covering up that you maybe come from a family of origin that's been abusive,
right?
Covering up the things you're ashamed of. So realizing that even though you've covered those things up, like I said, taken off those trench coats, who you innately are, who you were born to be in this time frame on this planet right now, everybody is a divine being. And you've always been that. And it doesn't matter how much garbage, how much abuse or trauma has been piled on you, you are still that divine spark. And because of that, you can co-create however you want your life to look. However, and it just means being aware that I am that, right? I am that love. I am that compassion. I am that creativity. I am that freedom. And until we're aware and we own ourselves from the inside out and we love ourselves more than we ever have and respect ourselves, then we can have an empowered life of interacting with people that we love and respect, of having jobs that fulfill us, of having relationships that are full and loving and kind. But it takes realizing the truth of who we are. And that's kind of part of the process too. The step process I was talking about is to lead, guide people on this journey into a place of recognizing the truth of who they have always been. And a lot of people think that they haven't been that, I've never been that, but that divine spark that dropped into you the minute you were conceived knows exactly who you are. And in fact, probably knows exactly what you're here to do.
Exactly.
And
you have to discover.
Yes, then you can be more of that. You're more at choice again. It all goes to, for me, it goes back to choice. I can choose to be happy or I can choose to be depressed. And for anybody who just went, wait a minute, I'll share.
To be depressed.
Right. Well, on and off prior to my divorce, I went through depression. I was taking whatever antidepressant somebody said I should take, a doctor, but meanwhile doing this work because I didn't want to be on drugs. I wanted to live my life healthy. And what I realized in hindsight is those depressions were in relationship to not being honest with myself about how unhappy I was in my marriage.
Yeah.
And so I stayed stuck. I stayed shackled in something that was really debilitating me. It was really, what I said, debilitating. And so the depression, because you couldn't live your truth. Well, and it, again, you're at choice. I could have chosen to get divorced much earlier. I didn't, and a lot of people stay in marriages, especially when there's children. They stay in marriages that are unhappy. My mother did it, my father did it. It's like, so with me, I filed for divorce a couple days after my son graduated from high school. And that's when my husband said, I think it's done. We're done. And I'm like, okay. And it took me a while to let it go. But so, that was my particular journey. I'm not saying if you're unhappy, get out.
Yeah.
Take your kids with
you. Everybody has to make their own decision, their own choice.
Exactly. Because it's all a unique journey. An individual journey.
It's all an individual journey. Yep. So I know Sebastian had a comment earlier. He said, what is often scary is also equally worth exploring at times and teaches us our true strength. Yes, indeed it does. And so we end on R, empower. or are we going to empowerment?
Well, so as the year progresses, Alicia, I'm going to
We'll
figure
out. We'll figure out the rest.
Right.
But I love that. I love that. So if you want, tell everybody how they can catch your show, because we have a couple minutes left, so they can listen to all these wonderful topics.
All the conversations. If you go to my website, Live an Empowered Life. No, that's not it. If you go to my website, SusanBurrell.com, BURRELL, you can see everything that I'm doing. You can access my empowering chats, my podcast. You can check out my book. You can buy it through there. You can also click on Insight Timer, which is a meditation app that I have contributed many guided meditations.
Excellent.
So if you need a quick tune in, get that app and you can do a 2-minute
meditation and just whoo-sa.
That's
right. Wow, this time has just flown by, Susan. Oh my gosh, and we haven't even scratched the surface.
No, we haven't.
We haven't even scratched the surface. This was just a teaser for the real show. But you know, it all comes back to what I'm going to take away from this too is the words that we use are so important, and really understand the words that we are incorporating into our lives, which is why I chose, even though it made me uncomfortable to use the word audacious when I first started using it, audacious confidence. I started using it because it made me uncomfortable, and now it just fits. It just fits who I am, because that was who I was created to be. And so look at the words. And so I just thank you so, so much, Susan, for coming and enlightening us, empowering us, sharing with us. I really, really enjoyed this time with you. Thank you. We will have you back, definitely. So thank you. Mwah. Don't go anywhere. Stay in the green room. I'm just going to wrap up because my producer is saying time to wrap up. So this has been the Audacious Confidence Show here with Alicia Couri, and my guest was the wonderful Susan Burrell. We had such an incredible time. So please check us out on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, and also on Periscope as we broadcast live each week. So next week, Tuesday, we will be back at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with another great episode for Audacious Confidence. And so here on Dramaniac TV, I just want to let you know that when you dream big, we make it happen. So good night, everybody. Love you. Mwah. Bye. Hey, Alicia here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that episode of the Audacious Confidence Show, check out more of the episodes that we have right there. And don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you don't miss another episode of the Audacious Confidence Show.